So I will pass you over now to Karen, and I will hide myself. So thank you, Karen, for joining us.
Thanks a million, Philippa. It's my pleasure to be here. Hi to everybody who's watching. And I really hope that you enjoy the session. My, I suppose, wish for each of you is that when you log off today, that you feel calmer, more relaxed, and maybe a little bit more peaceful in yourself and in your body than you did when you came on. So as Philippa said, my name is Karen Stokes. I'm a wellness facilitator, among other things. And I've trained in multicultural wellness education. And it's what I'm kind of most passionate about, the idea that we have so much stress to deal with at times, sometimes trauma, illness, injury, all of that, and it really can take its toll on so many of us. And if it's one person in the family, it can have quite a ripple effect. I myself decided to go for this training because my own daughter had a chronic long-term illness and was struggling with the emotional and mental aspects of it. So I went off to train, learned these techniques, thinking it would just help her and help myself. Once I went to the training, I realized everybody should know this. This should be taught from age 5, so that as you know, children, as adults, that we are able to recognize different emotions and then maybe not feel so powerless and be able to kind of spot and combat overwhelm when it arises. So what I'm going to do with you today, this afternoon, is just a short, gentle meditation to help us kind of get grounded, maybe shake off the day, and just to get kind of into our bodies and feeling calm and relaxed. And then I will have time to teach you 2 techniques that I teach that enable us, using only our hands, to bring ourselves into a much calmer state of well-being and peace. And these techniques are quite simple. They can be practiced anywhere. One of them in particular can be really practiced anywhere by anybody of any age. These techniques are taught all over the world, to all different cultures and backgrounds, to people who've survived atrocities, war, natural disasters, and they're really, really powerful, but gentle and calming. So as I said, my goal for each of you is just that at the end of this session, that you feel quite calm and chilled and relaxed. So on that note, I will stop talking. The good thing as well about the session is all you have to do, if you wish, is to listen and to take part. You don't have to, there's nothing, you know, reading anything or having to type anything unless you have a question. So please avail of the opportunity, which we don't get very often, to just focus on yourself and to relax. So what I would also just say very briefly, if you haven't done meditation before, or this is not something that you would normally do, please don't think it's way out there. It's actually quite effective for just calming everything down. So bear with me. So what I would just say to you is to sit comfortably wherever you are. If you can, maybe, you know, that you're supported in your seat, whether it's a couch or a chair or whatever. If you're able to put your feet on the floor, you know, just so that you're fully kind of present, and if possible not to cross or fold your arms, so maybe to rest your hands lightly in your lap. I would also just say that I do these techniques a lot with my eyes closed to stop me from getting distracted. But if for any reason you don't feel safe or comfortable to close your eyes, you don't have to. It's whatever feels right for you. So to just start off, if you wish to close your eyes, you can, and just take a deep breath into your nose, and in your own time, gently exhaling out through your mouth. And just continue to breathe in your own normal pattern, in your own way or your own rhythm. But just notice that with every in-breath, your shoulders rise, your chest rises. And with every out-breath, your shoulders drop. So our body instinctively knows how to relax and come into a state of calm. It's often our mind and our thoughts that get in the way. And just to visualize in your mind that with every in-breath or every inhale, you are breathing in a feeling of peace and calm. And with every out-breath or exhale, that you are letting go. So maybe releasing or gently letting go of anything that might be causing you stress, pain, tension, sadness, anger. So breathing in peace, and breathing out stress. And reminding yourself that for the rest of the time that we are together here in this space, nobody wants anything from you. And this is your time. And now I'd like you to visualize that your 2 feet have roots like those of a tree, coming from the soles of your feet down into the floor, under the building you're in, and reaching way down into the heart of the earth. And these roots keep you solid, steady, and grounded for this session. And again, with every in-breath that you take, just imagine peaceful, calming energy coming back up through these roots into the soles of your feet, traveling upwards, completely filling your body. And it may help you to visualize it as a particular color that's coming in from the soles of your feet into your heels, your ankles, up your calves, your knees, your thighs, traveling again like a warm glow or a light or a color up into your hips, your abdomen, all around your tummy where we hold on to so much fear and worry. Traveling around to the back, traveling all the way up to our neck and our shoulders. And just for a moment, observe your shoulders. We hold so much tension in this area. How are your shoulders feeling? If they feel tight or tense or maybe up near your ears, again, focusing on the breath. Breathing in peace, breathing out tension allows the shoulders to loosen and drop a little. So this peaceful energy again, swirling all around within us, around all of our organs, our heart, our lungs, our kidneys, across our chest, into our neck, into our throat, our communication center, and then up into our jaw, our face, our ears, our head, our forehead. So that in this moment, you are allowing calming, peaceful energy to travel in from the tips of your toes to the top of your head and around every inch in between, traveling in your bloodstream so that peace is in your pulse, into every cell, every muscle, every tissue, every bone, every organ, completely filled and surrounded in this peaceful energy. So just continuing to breathe, breathing in peace, and on the exhale, just letting go. And now another very brief but very powerful exercise we can do. And this is a great one to do every evening. And it's called calling back our energy. So every one of us, through our daily interactions or engagements with other people, maybe with work, with worry, with stress, with illness, we are giving out so much of our energy. Our energy has been pulled in so many different directions. So this calling back your energy exercise allows you to just pause for a moment and visualize all of your energy that you've given out, or maybe that's been taken from you. allows it to return to you, its rightful owner. So again, whatever works for you to visualize, you could visualize this maybe like a breeze, or like threads or strands, or a color, or a mist, or a vapor. Just imagine that you are calling all of your energy back to you, even just from today. So from all people, places, situations, events, challenges, exchanges, and even worrisome thoughts that we may have sent out, that we're calling back our energy. And just see it returning to you now, filling you back up, along with this peaceful energy you've been breathing in. And again, knowing that this is yours. It's yours to call back. It's yours to hold on to. It's yours to protect. Your energy is so vital to you. And so often we don't protect it. So remember that at the end of the day, maybe even in bed or before you settle down for the evening, the simple act of allowing yourself even 2 minutes just to sit, just to breathe, breathing in peace, breathing out tension, imagining ourselves, full of this beautiful light or energy that's calming us, soothing us, but also that we are calling back all of our energy from the day, so that we are hopefully settling down for the night completely replenished and filled back up with our own energy, ready to face whatever the next day has to throw at us or challenge us with. So those two very simple exercises can, really help just to focus us for a moment. So many of us are so busy all of the time, and we don't even, have 5 minutes to just sit, to breathe, to actually check in with ourselves and to ask, how am I feeling right now? How do I feel about this situation or that conversation or my exchange with that person? Because we're go, go, go. So, just grounding, visualizing these roots connecting you to the earth. So we're here on the ground. And then imagine your body just filling with peace, just in your pulse, flowing through every inch, internally and externally. And that we're breathing out or releasing anything that we just don't want to hold on to from the day. So anything unpleasant, stressful, upsetting, anything that angered or irritated us, that we're just not holding on to it. It's a gentle release. And then the calling back your energy. My personal way to visualize is that I'm like standing on the edge of a cliff over the sea. I know it's quite dramatic, arms outstretched, just calling back all of my energy, and it's just coming in through my hands and replenishing me back up again. So that's just the meditation that I wanted to start with. So hopefully that you're feeling comfortable and settled. And the next technique that I want to teach you, it's one, again, it's taught all over the world. I've taught this to children. I believe every child from, school age, even younger, should be taught this. So these are called finger holds. And the idea with this technique is, and I haven't studied Chinese medicine, so I don't fully understand, is that our entire body is made up of energy lines or meridians. So if you think of acupuncture, an acupuncturist is not just randomly placing needles. He's putting them in, he or she is putting them in very specific energy lines on the body to clear blockages. So in the same way, our fingers and each of our thumbs are connected to main energy centers in the body that deal with strong or overwhelming emotions. So the first example I would give you of that is, if you think of a baby who's upset or crying or distressed and they suck their thumb and they stop, there's a reason for that, because the thumb is connected to the energy center in the body that deals with sadness and upset. So by placing their thumb in their mouth, it soothes them. So each of our fingers and our thumb actually has a really powerful role to play in helping us to calm down. And when we learn this technique, we can practice it anywhere. We could be at a meeting or at at a class or an exam or going into an interview or a medical appointment, and just have our hands on our lap and nobody knows that we're practicing this technique. So you don't have to watch what I'm doing, because all we're going to be doing is holding each of our fingers in turn, and I'm going to talk you through it. And the idea is that by holding your own thumb and your own fingers, you can actually bring yourself from a place of overwhelm to a place of calm very, very quickly and very gently. And the way I teach this technique is, again, in a kind of a meditation, because it helps us to relax, to not be distracted, to focus on the words that I'm saying, which is explaining what each of the function of each of the fingers and what holding them can do, and also to allow you to experience, hopefully, the feeling of peace and calm that can kind of envelop us and bring about a sense of well-being. So the children that I've taught this to, children are just amazing. They can think of ways to do them, better than we can sometimes as adults. But also teenagers, I find, they're so worried about their peer group and how appearances are. It's very refreshing for them to know that they can do something and it's not drawing attention to themselves and nobody's looking at them. So the finger holds, as I said, are a technique for overwhelm. And I'm going to talk you through each of them. So again, if you want to just sit comfortably, as I said, you don't have to be able to see what I'm doing, because I'm going to talk you through it. Just, making sure I have room. So again, if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes and just rest both of your hands lightly in your lap. Again, if you can just have feet or ankles uncrossed. And very briefly, just check in with yourself. Just notice or observe honestly how you're feeling in this moment, maybe compared to how you were earlier. But it's just to try and get into the habit of observing and checking in with yourself, allowing yourself that moment or two. So we'll start by just gently taking hold of one of your thumbs. It doesn't matter which one, it's all the same. Just gently take hold of it in the other hand. So you're not squeezing or putting a lot of pressure, but just enough so you can feel your thumb in the other hand, and that your fingers and thumb of the other hand are just closed around it very gently, but that you're still resting your hands on your lap, so you're not going to, your arms won't get tired from trying to hold your hands up. And when you hold your thumb, you may feel heat, or you might feel a tingling or like a pulse, or you mightn't feel anything at all. All of that is okay. This will differ from time to time depending on what you're feeling at the time. So although I teach this technique as a meditation, in any moment you feel overwhelmed, you could simply sit and hold your thumb and each of your fingers for a moment. So I'm going to talk you through each of them now. So our thumb is connected to a main energy center in the body that deals with tears, with grief, and with any emotional pain. So for any time you feel sadness or upset, if you're struggling with a loss or a bereavement, if you feel lonely or you're missing somebody, or for any sort of emotional pain or hurt, heartache, betrayal or disappointment, anything that lays heavy on your heart. Whilst holding your thumb cannot take away whatever is causing these feelings, what it does is ensure that the feelings will not cause overwhelm when they arise. So this technique helps us to combat the feeling in the moment. And sometimes that's all that we need. And I do just want to point out that it's important to say crying is good. It's a really healthy release. But there are some times when we simply don't want to become overwhelmed by our sadness or our grief or our pain. And holding our thumb will gently allow ourselves to feel comforted or soothed. So if in this moment you're holding on to or you're experiencing any feelings of upset, of loss, of pain, of sadness, whether past or recent, just imagine these feelings very gently leaving your body out through your fingertips, just disappearing into the floor. So you don't have to hold them right now. And instead, breathing in a feeling of peace, of calm, and of comfort. So our thumb helps us in times of upset, of grief, or of any emotional pain or hurt. And so whenever you feel ready, you can just gently release your thumb and now take hold of your index or your forefinger, or your pointy finger as the children call it. So our index finger and holding it helps us in times of fear or panic. So for any fears or phobias we might have, for any time we feel scared or frightened or maybe in physical danger, or if we suffer from panic attacks that can just creep up in any moment without warning, all of those feelings can cause us to freeze and maybe feel like we can't move or speak or even breathe. Holding your index finger unfreezes you. It slows your heart rate, it regulates your breathing, and it allows you to do whatever it is you need to do in that moment of fear. Whether it's shout or run, but it completely unfreezes you. So if in this moment you're holding on to or you're feeling any feelings of fear or panic, whether past or recent, just imagine these feelings gently leaving your body out through your fingertips, down into the floor, and instead breathing in a feeling of peace, of calm, and of safety. All is well. So our index finger helps in times of fear or panic. So whenever you feel ready, you can just gently release your index finger and now take hold of your middle finger. So holding our middle finger helps us with anger, rage, or resentment. So for any time we can feel anger rising or building within us, and we maybe worry we might do or say something we later regret. If you fear you're going to lose your temper. If another person is trying to wind us up or push our buttons just to get a reaction. Or if old or past wounds or bitterness crops up, causing us to feel anger unexpectedly. Again, it's important to know that anger is a normal emotion that we are all entitled to feel. It's just how we express it or what we do with it that's important. Holding your middle finger once again allows you to feel calmer, slows everything down, regulates your breathing, and maybe just what you need at times to enable you to respond rather than react, or even to not respond, as the case may be. So if in this moment you're holding onto or you're feeling any feelings of anger or resentment or bitterness, whether past or recent, just imagine these feelings now gently leaving your body out through your fingertips down into the floor. Those unpleasant feelings. And instead, breathing in a feeling of peace, of calm, and of control. So that you are in control of your emotions rather than the other way around. So our middle finger helps us with anger, rage, and resentment. So now you can gently release your middle finger and instead take hold of your ring finger. So our ring finger helps us deal with feelings of worry, anxiety, or preoccupation. So for any time your head is full of worry or stress, maybe the same worrisome thoughts just going round in circles, possibly causing you to lack sleep. For anxiety, which again can just creep up in any moment without warning or for no apparent reason. Or preoccupation, if your mind is just so tired or stressed or full of worry that you find it hard to focus or concentrate and you're easily distracted. All of these feelings can be like a cloud or a fog that surrounds us. Holding a ring finger allows the cloud or the fog to lift or dissolve so that we can think clearly and we know what to do next rather than just to worry. So if in this moment you're experiencing or holding on to any feelings of worry or anxiety, or you feel unfocused, whether past or recent stuff is causing it, just imagine these feelings very gently leaving your body out through your fingers, down into the floor, and instead breathing in a feeling of peace, of calm, and of clarity. So holding a ring finger helps us deal with worry, anxiety, and preoccupation. So now finally, if you just wish to let go of your ring finger and take hold of your little finger. So holding our little finger helps us in times when we lack self-esteem or we feel small. So for any time we lack confidence or belief in ourselves, if we don't feel worthy or good enough, if we compare ourselves to others, or if another person or their words tries to belittle you or make you feel small, know that they can only do so if we allow them to, and remember that in any moment and in every single situation, you are enough, just as you are now. So if in this moment you're experiencing any feelings of low self-esteem or lack of self-belief, or you feel small in any way, just imagine these feelings very gently leaving your body out through your fingertips down into the floor, and instead breathing in a feeling of peace, of calm, and of confidence. Safe in the knowledge that you are perfect, just as you are now. So holding your little finger helps you with lack of self-esteem and feeling small. And so whenever you feel ready, you can gently let go of your fingers. You might like to stretch or yawn or just wiggle your fingers in some way or shift about on your chair. And to come back into the room and open your eyes. Thanks, Philip. So it's probably one of my favorite techniques because it can be practiced anywhere. And even if you don't remember specifically what each finger means, know that by holding them all for a moment or two, you are actually helping yourself, you are empowering yourself to combat overwhelm and not to let emotions get on top of you, and to bring yourself naturally, gently, and very, very quickly into a state of calm and well-being. So it becomes a situation where anything can be going on around you and you are just in your own little bubble. So again, as I said, I've used this myself for so many really stressful and traumatic situations, and it's invaluable. And what I would say to you is, it's a lovely way to start and end your day. If you find that you wake up in the morning and before your eyes are open or your feet hit the floor, there's this sense of, here we go again. To give yourself 2 minutes to lie in bed and just hold each of your fingers and your thumb, one hand and then the other, or end the day that way. Or if you're finding it hard to sleep, to lie there and do this. You can do this sitting watching telly, on a bus. You can do it anywhere. As I said, hands under the table. Nobody needs to know. And it's also a lovely thing to do if you're taking care of somebody who's ill, or even an older person or somebody who was dying. They just feel that you're holding their hands, and in actual fact you're helping them to feel extremely peaceful and calm. So the finger holds are a very, very powerful technique. And if actually what I might do, maybe if anybody wants, I can forward to Philip a sheet that just outlines which of the fingers do which and the thumb. So that's the finger holds. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. So the next technique that I'm going to teach you is one that you may have seen or you may have heard of, and it's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. It's also known as tapping. So again, it's basically a technique that you can do. If I'm honest, I find people are less likely to do this one anywhere because it is visible that you're doing something. But if you want to practice this at home, again, lying in bed or just sitting in your home or watching TV, it's a really, really nice way to combat pain or anxiety. A lot of celebrities use this. It's known to be very, very effective for, cravings and addictions. I've seen people do this in airports who are nervous about getting on the plane. So I'm going to just talk you through. And again, you can just follow me. You can watch me for this one. We'll do each technique a couple of times. So we'll start off again just to kind of get focused before we start the practice, if you want to just sit comfortably, because I'm going to ask you to focus on something specific, okay? So maybe just take a deep breath in through your nose and then just letting go. And just allow yourself 10 or 15 seconds just to check in very honestly with yourself. See how you're feeling right now, maybe compared to how you felt earlier. And I'd like you to focus on one thing, one situation or one challenge, something that is currently causing you anxiety or pain. You may have several, but for the purpose of this technique, just focus on one. So I'd like you to just clearly see it in your mind's eye, just to give it a name in your mind. So once you've identified the issue or the situation, I'd like you to measure it on a scale of anxiety. reflecting how it currently makes you feel. So 0 would be no anxiety, 10 would be high anxiety. Or if that doesn't feel right, maybe just low, medium, or high. But just to clearly see it in your mind and measure it on a scale. And again, this is just for you, so you can be as honest as you need to be with yourself. Okay, and so once we've done that now, you can open your eyes, and I'm going to talk you through a couple of points. So again, we talked about these meridians or energy lines. Again, we have these acupressure points on our face and our upper body that are very, very specifically help us to unblock trapped or stored energy that can cause overwhelm. So I'm going to talk you through it, okay? So for these points, we're going to tap lightly on certain points on the face and the upper body. And to tap, we use our index and our middle fingers, okay? So the first point we're going to tap on, and we just tap about 10 or 12 times very lightly, is where our eyebrows begin, okay? So we're just very, very lightly tapping here. The second point is where our eyebrows end. So around here at the sides, almost kind of at our temples, just lightly tapping. The third point is below the sockets, or sorry, below the pupils of the eyes, down here kind of on the bone or the socket. You'll just feel it here. So we tap very lightly here because it's a very sensitive area. The fourth point, we only need one hand for, and it's this area below the nose and over the upper lip. So in this soft kind of area here, there's like a little dent. We're just tapping here. And all of these points have very specific, again, we're not just randomly tapping. The next point with one hand is below the lower lip and over the chin. So again, in this kind of soft area here. And you may find if you're doing this yourself that there are certain points that feel great and certain points that feel not so great. Everyone kind of has a favorite. So that's the next point. The next one then with two hands again is actually at the base of the neck. So just on your collarbones. So, sorry, I have a ring here that makes noise. I'll just take that off, sorry. So just tapping, and again lightly, you don't want to hurt yourself, on this point at the collarbones. Okay, and then the final point I'll just show you. So on your right hand, if you look at your right hand, you have this line going across. Where it comes around to the sides, this is a point that we tap on repeatedly. This is the point in my wellness sessions where people think she's a bit out there, okay? So we're going to tap on this, and if you want, depending on where you are right now, we're going to say a phrase 3 times. If you're on your own or you're feeling comfortable, you can say it out loud. If not, you can say it in your mind. And the phrase is, despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. And then we're going to stop for a moment. We're going to rest our hands in our lap and we're just going to take a deep breath. Allowing the shoulders to drop and just breathing out. So literally just 5 seconds of a check-in. And we're going to repeat the sequence again. So we're going to start with 2 hands, lightly tapping where the eyebrows begin. Then where the eyebrows end. Then below the pupils of the eyes, just kind of lightly on the socket. Then with one hand below the nose, over the lip. With one hand below the lower lip and over the chin. With 2 hands then at the base of the neck, just on the collarbones. So you might have to feel around a little bit for them if you're like me. And then the final point, so at that at the side, as we follow the line around, just repeatedly tapping. This is a really important one, because when we're dealing with crisis or a situation or overwhelming emotions, particular anger, we then feel guilty about it and we struggle to accept the fact that we feel how we do. So this kind of lets us off the hook by saying, despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. So just resting our hands in the lap, just taking a deep breath. And just very briefly checking in again. And now we'll repeat the sequence one final time. If you're doing this yourself at home, you can do it for as long as you need to, or as many times as you want. Just with time wise, we just do it 3. So again, we're going to begin where the eyebrows begin. So just gently tapping here. So this point can relate to stress. Okay. The point where the eyebrows end, so around at the sides, this can help us deal again with anger. So the great thing about tapping is, again, you don't need to know what each one is. You can just know that it works. This point then, just below the pupils on the bone or the socket. This is great for cravings and addiction. Then with one hand below the nose, over the upper lip. This is a crisis point, so great if anybody feels dizzy, high blood pressure, seizures. If you press on this point, can really help to calm you down. So this is crisis. Then with one hand below the lower lip, this point relates to shame. Then with 2 hands, the bottom of the neck, just on the collarbones. A lot of people love this one. This relates to fear. I used to love this one myself. So this helps us with fear. And then finally, and very importantly, this point at the sides. So tapping repeatedly, complete self-acceptance. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. Despite the fact I have this problem, I'm okay and I accept myself. So for the final time, just resting your hands in your lap, taking a deep breath. And once again, I'd like you to just very honestly check in with yourself and see where on that anxiety scale or level you are now in relation to the issue that you thought about at the beginning. So to know that the tapping process rewires the brain away from pain and anxiety. And even if your anxiety level has reduced by 1 notch or 1 number, that you did that yourself. If your anxiety or pain level is still the same or maybe higher, just know that you would benefit from practicing this technique more or for a longer period. But that again, you have the power in your hands by tapping on these points on the face and the upper body to rewire something that maybe feels here. It's so in our face, anxiety, it's so, encompassing and crippling, to move it to here. And sometimes that might be all we need to do in order to function, to leave the house, to make the call, whatever it is that we need to do. So whilst it's not one that people feel comfortable maybe practicing out in public, it's one that if you get to learn it, you can really feel the benefit sitting, as I said, watching telly, lying in bed, and you might recognize that there's one that feels much better than the other. So that's EFT, or emotional freedom technique, or tapping. If I had time, I could tell you all the success stories in relation to people who found these effective, but I don't. So I will just leave you with, as I said, the wish that maybe something that we did today helped you, maybe helped your body or your mind to just feel calmer and more relaxed, and to take away from today that we have much more power than we realize. So thanks for being here.